Welcome to the Cobra Fundamentals. It's the 4th of May today. Today we've seen a lot of headline news around the Federal Reserve rates. Those hikes, we've heard about the impact it's had on all other assets, on the dollar index, and now we sort of take a deeper look into what sort of what resolution came out of all of this, right? So these episodes took place, and you've had a bit of a dip on things like dollar index. Interest rates have gone up, and yeah, I mean, if you were to like read the sort of upcoming news the last like couple of days, you would have like picked it up. Like there's been a few hints to why these things are happening.
Hey Z, can you share your screen to Discord?
Oh, okay, one second. I'll share that. I'll share that for you guys. A second. Cool. Is it showing up now? Can you guys see my screen? Yup. So we can see the headlines. We can see the screen. So yeah, today, like, there's a few things I want to cover today, and I want to talk about like some updates on Solana ecosystem. I want to talk about Solana a little bit and how they're resolving the use case of DeFi using their sort of ways. I mean, they've been going through a bit of a you can say uprise. They keep testing out more traffic sort of uses with its NFTs, and we're seeing sort of issues where they're having outages. They're in fact having 7-hour outages, 17-hour total outages, and then you see dips in their prices, but then you see like it's all new here. Like all these things are just brand new. Solana only just started not long ago, maybe a year ago. It started at $30, and now you're seeing it's built into a whole mainnet with projects like Serum, Radium, with Magic Eden as its NFT marketplace, and we're going to be learning about all these things. But to start off with, I want to talk about the Federal Reserve. So let's look into this a little bit. So this article just came out, and it's a live coverage. In fact, it's sort of a ticker of information here. So let's look at the sort of talking points, right? So it goes here. The Federal Reserve has announced their rate decisions for the month of May, hiking rates by 50 basis points. This is the first 50 basis point hike since the last such move 22 years ago. So this is a bit of history that's been made, right? This is the highest the Fed has ever increased its interest rates. As the Federal Reserve tried to cool the excess of the dot-com bubble that perhaps worked a little too well as the dot-com bust later that summer. So these sort of rate hikes, they affect all sorts of markets, right? They'll touch on the Nasdaq, the S&P 500, the Dow Jones. As you can see, these markets lose a bit of momentum and go bearish. Same thing with Nasdaq. Nasdaq sort of goes through bearish moments as well, and these sort of things they have impacts. If we look into the dollar index here, and this is a hourly, but if we see it from a daily perspective, we see a pullback, right? So interest rate hikes, people take some profits, right? We're at 102 now from 103, and when these sort of switches happen, they affect all sorts of commodity, and now we can say cryptocurrencies, right? So as the dollar pulled back, right, and wicked out, down below we've seen BTC gain. Alright, so BTC went from 38,000 all the way to almost 40,000 In fact, it wicked 40,000, and it's reaching previous levels. So these news things, these articles really, and the technicals we kind of look into, give us a feedback loop of what's been performing. So whilst BTC has been on a pullback the last couple of months, we're finally seeing accumulation zones be conquered, and then do we see a build up back to the 45k region, back to the 50k region. That's where we have to measure. So that's why it's important to look into things like the dollar index to see what the Fed Reserve are talking about. And yeah, so when the dollar went down, Bitcoin went up. Gold, an asset we've been trading a little bit on, has gone up. So yeah, so the Fed Reserve's like interest rate hikes has a impact on the market, and that's the kind of stuff that we have to keep in sight. So yeah, that's the update here on what's happened with the Fed Reserve. And yeah, I mean, like down to it, this has been happening for the past like few months as well. We've seen a build up to this, right? So this tweet here reads out internal Nasdaq damage. This is by Jason Goffert. Amazing Twitter page to follow. I would recommend it. In fact, I think I'll give it to you guys. Yeah, this guy sort of is the sentiment trader. Like he has a YouTube channel. He has a really good sort of Twitter page. But let's see what his impact was. Let's see what he was covering. Just give me a second. So the tweet reads out that more than 45% of stock down 50%. More than 22% of stocks down 75%. More than 5% of stocks down 90%. So we've been before the markets do what they do and basically reverse and look for pullbacks, they basically give you hints. So the Nasdaq, for example, has been on a pullback for the past couple of days, couple of weeks as well, and that's what we're seeing on the dollar index happen now, right? So that's how like news, like economic news like that impacts, you know, the news that we're basically looking around. So it impacts cryptocurrencies. It impacts Bitcoin. It impacts Ethereum, and from there basically there's only but to be accumulated gains to be made, right? When everything's pulled back, we basically always find floors to recover and then go back up. So, but I'm gonna start the DeFi news with Solana suffering a 7-hour outage. I think this is something deep to look into. So the article here reads: Solana suffers 7-hour outage as NFT demand spills over. Bots flood network with. Just give me a second. Let me refresh this. Actually, I'm gonna just find you another article because Bloomberg wants me to subscribe. But yeah, so Solana suffers 7-hour outage as bots invade the network. NFT minting bot on Solana contributed over 4 million transactions a second, knocking validators out of consensus and crashing the network for around 7 hours. The latest update is it's more than that. It's done like I think 17 hours in total of sort of outages. So Solana network suffered a 7-hour outage overnight between Saturday and Sunday due to a large number of transactions from NFT minting bot. So basically Solana has this NFT minting bot that basically caused this issue where a lot of, like, you can say, congestion was put onto to its mainnet, and we saw basically, you know, people weren't able to mint their NFTs, and it caused a bit of a delay panel, and when these kind of things happen, they create some pullbacks on the market as well, right? So we saw a pullback on Solana's price down to 90 to about 84, 85, 86, 82, but since then it's back to 91. But these are the sort of pullbacks, like down to where our duty is as hodlers to see where the price lands, and then see if we have a bag of that stuff. So it's like Solana for me is a project that has huge potential. So this is the issue that Solana sort of put out, right? So they put this out. So validator operators successfully completed a cluster restart on mainnet beta at 3 a.m. following a roughly 7-hour outage after the network failed to reach consensus. Network operators and dApps will continue to restore client service over the next several hours. So yeah, so they were able to recover and basically work its way through its sort of malfunction. So this was they basically bought that creator. It was called Metaplex Candy Machine. So this thing created the sort of crash, and yeah, these things happen. I mean, like Solana and basically even Ethereum had that with the Bored Ape Yacht Club other side sale. Like these crashes and these sort of shortages happen, and this is what shows you that like sort of DeFi is in a working model mode, just like all the other financial structures are. Really, we're looking at the dollar, we're looking at Bitcoin prices. So these things are still a work in progress, and whilst they are, it's good to buy these dips for sure. So yeah, so that was the news on Solana. I'll further tell you some more stuff to do with Solana. So the other thing I wanted to like kind of focus on is are projects that are like, you know, that have sort of long-term vision on Solana, and give you guys a hint of a few of these, because I think if you can get onto these projects early on, you'll basically looking to really do big things. So it's like one of them I want to start with is Radium. So Radium is it's basically a DEX. It's basically the Uniswap of Solana, and kind of give you guys an introduction of a few different sort of DEXs and launch pads that exist on Solana, because I think as we get into these things early in these accumulation phases, then these things will continue to pump its way through this year and next year. And those will give us some possible gains. So Radium is a market maker, just like Uniswap, built on Solana. It has the highest TVL total value locked on Solana with $12.6 billion. What makes Radium stand apart is the fact that the other DEX and DeFi suffer from two main issues. One, most exchanges are based on the Ethereum network, which means network congestion, high gas fees. And two, they can only access liquidity pools within their pools, liquidity within their pools. So yeah, so you have these issues of congestion, and Solana and all these other sorts of mainnets are looking to resolve that issue. So Radium is looking to resolve this. So it goes here. Radium can overcome these challenges by incorporating Serum on the Solana blockchain, which is the first AMM that optimizes the speed of Solana's network. So yeah, so this is a project that I would certainly get into. We can look at its price action right now. So Radium currently is worth $2.24. We believe this will go another like 50 to 100x from here. It's got so much more in the making. It's a market maker. It's a DEX, and it's a project doing really well on its sort of paths toward adding tokens, adding more liquidity swaps, and creating the right features. Like this is something that we use currently. So Radium is something I would certainly look into, and I'll give you guys this link here to kind of read about it and research it a little bit. Cool. So after Radium, there's a few more projects I'd like to basically have you guys look into a little bit more, right? So you have Radium there, and then you have other projects on Solana, such as Serum and Orca. So what is Serum? Serum is also a DEX built on Solana where cryptocurrencies can be bought and sold Being on Solana, Serum offers low fees and high transaction speed. Serum has a decentralized order book run by a smart contract. So it's another sort of DEX, and compare this to like where Ethereum is with just Uniswap and sort of SushiSwap and then layer 2 capabilities. These sorts of things are basically use cases that can really show pumps in the near future. So yes, Solana has its own sort of stable, its own ecosystem, and sort of Radium, Orca, and Serum are projects that I would certainly look into buying these dips on. So like if we look into Serum, for example. So Serum currently is a DEX, yeah, so it's worth $1.94. So these are the kind of projects that you should honestly research, look into, and use as well as if you're looking to like trade on Solana. But Orca is the other one for $1.84. So these are projects that if you buy at the dip nicely, they would sort of 5 to 10x and even higher in the near future. So that's my little update on Solana. Like I think Solana is something that we should really look into, and basically their co-founder has been really vocal on how its development is and basically what makes it different to Bitcoin and sort of that differential loop. So this article here kind of shows you what he thinks about Bitcoin and its sort of way. So this article reads: Solana co-founder believes Bitcoin needs to change to proof of stake consensus to remain relevant. So Anatoly Yakovenko, one of the co-founders of Solana, the proof of stake based smart contract enabled blockchain, issued a series of statements criticizing Bitcoin's consensus algorithm. So what does he say in this interview, right? So he goes here. If you look at Solana's energy report, a single Solana transaction is about 2 Google searches worth of energy. I think that even among proof of stake networks is one of the most efficient ones. So it goes here, if Bitcoin, so he quotes this, it's amazing. He goes, if Bitcoin eventually doesn't switch to proof of stake, nobody's going to use it. So that's why we basically look into the different ecosystems like Solana, because like these things are gonna have real big use cases, and in our time we're gonna see this flip where projects like Ethereum, Solana, and others flip Bitcoin. But it's gonna start with Bitcoin, with Ethereum, unless like Bitcoin has real use case development, with its Lightning Network, with proof of stake and seeing its sort of capabilities. But yeah, that's what the co-founder of Solana thinks of Bitcoin. Cool. So I hope that kind of gives you a bit of insight on how to basically look into an ecosystem and what sort of projects to look into, certainly, and basically I hope that gives you a bit of news on Solana for sure. Now the last thing I'm gonna kind of look into now is this lawsuit that's taking place. And I'd like to thank Atlas for this article here this week. So it reads out Dfinity. So this was a project that we were interested in early last year. It was called Internet Computer Protocol, ICP. So this was a token we got into, and we actually made quite big gains on this. We made I made a 4x on this token over the past year. Right, like this token went quite high in price. But yeah, so Dfinity is the token of Dfinity. Sorry. The token's name is Internet's Computer. Right, so Internet ICP. This token is run by Dfinity Labs, and this is what happened today. Right, so Dfinity Foundation, the developers of Internet Computer Protocol, has dragged Facebook's parent company Meta to court over its use of infinity symbol as its logo. So yeah, the lawsuit filed in California has this Dfinity claiming that Meta uses the logo for the same reason it chose to register it. Dfinity registered the logo on 2018 at the United States Patent Office, and yeah, so they're going into into Meta. So what is Dfinity? A Swiss non-profit that develops blockchain technology. Dfinity has filed a lawsuit claiming that Meta's new logo is too similar to its own. That's the logo difference, right? So it's pretty interesting how these things sort of update. So that's the news for DeFi today, guys. I'm gonna conclude this now. Thank you for participating.